and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your coach, Reynoso, here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
This is probably the best I've felt about the Mexican national team in a good amount of years, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I actually feel really, really good right now after seeing what we did to Panama. And for as much as I want to discuss that first, for as much as I want to get into the topic of Mexico, I think I was more shocked but what I saw between USA and Jamaica, man. I think that's where we need to start, actually, is what the hell happened today with the USA?
You talk about complacency, and if you do mention that word, then you immediately think of the United States, man, because this performance was literally everything about that. It was just complacent. I mean, the moment when Chris Richards was nonchalantly trying to get the ball at the back, and there was an on-rushing Jamaican coming, and he didn't even care. And he got it, gets the shot one-on-one. Matt Turner, unfortunately, is able to block it. But there's just so many other moments in this match where the USA just looked lazy. They looked like they didn't want to be there. And I honestly, I don't know, but it looked like they just got off the plane from Europe. Yeah. There was one of the worst performances I've seen of the USA in like 3 years.
That's why I think I have to point this straight at Greg Berhalter, because of how collectively out of it everyone looked.
Yeah,
it wasn't just individuals. It wasn't like Christian Pulisic or Gio Reyna were like individually off. It was the whole team, man. There's a standard that I expect out of the U.S. when it comes to competing in the CONCACAF, has proven themselves as the top dog of the conference, that they've shown time and time again. But I think there's an element of Berhalter, maybe not, I was saying this so much when we were watching the game. These guys don't look sharp. They don't look into it. They don't look invested. They don't look awake, man. They looked half asleep out there. I'm actually going to put this on Greg Berhalter, man. Like the inability to, I guess, have his players realize the stage and the situation that they're in, how much these games matter, even though they're facing off against a weak Jamaican side. Like, we're building towards something special at the 2024 Copa America and the 2026 World Cup. You can't have performances like this, man. And ultimately, in my mind, I almost chalk it up as a loss, given that they needed a last-minute own goal to tie the match, and then they went on to dominate afterwards against a tired Jamaica. But man, this is one of the worst performances, if not the worst performance I've seen from the USA, probably since they won their first Nations League trophy 3 years ago.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I hate this because I don't want to deflect any blame or anything like that, but I just need to wait till Sunday. I need to see what USA squad shows up on Sunday against Mexico, because that'll ultimately be my final verdict on this international window. Because at the end of the day, we did win. We beat Jamaica. I got heavy Trinidad vibes where we just kind of met their level. And also, if you think about it, Jamaica got the sucker punch 30 seconds into the game, and then they defended the rest of the match. But again, like you, and I'm sure like any other USA fan, I was completely disgusted by the passage of play, right?
Yeah, man,
the
awful
way that the USA was playing. You said it, we were not sharp whatsoever. Pretty much every other touch was a fat one. Christian Pulisic had a couple chances in the box, but he either dwelt on the ball way too long or waited way too long for the Jamaican defenders to eventually catch up to him and block his shots. I just thought it was kind of lazy from a lot of the USA forwards. And ultimately, it was Haji Wright who comes off the bench, scores two really beautiful goals in extra time. He was the only guy that truly looked very sharp coming off the bench, man. But
he's got to start, man. I think he's got to start next match over Balogun.
Yeah, I completely agree, but it's just one of the weirdest games I've seen. But yeah, all I can really say is the USA looked terrible, but Jamaica did very well by defending very stoutly, and they were in front of the ball in every single play. They put a body on every American player. It was a valiant performance from Jamaica, and honestly, they deserved a win based off of the 90 minutes.
The Jamaican footballing experience in CONCACAF was represented over this whole 90 minutes, man, because it started off with them showing their individual talent, individual brilliance with the way that shot was finished, a perfect finish, strong header into the back of the net, making it past Matt Turner. And I mean, they were Jamaican me happy, man. They were Jamaican me excited at the moment. And I was on board with this Jamaican team, who then went on to put on a defensive masterclass, in my opinion. Yeah. 90 straight minutes of disciplined football. Every ball that came in from the wings was met with a Jamaican center back heading the ball out and defending his own goal. And we saw it from everybody in the back line. But as I said, that Jamaican experience was once again put on display with absolute heartbreak and I guess ultimately lack of discipline in the final play of the match that then goes on to concede to the USA, giving them the victory 3-1 in extra time. The rest is history. But to me, this full 90 minutes, there were brilliant moments, and then there were moments where they just stacked in and just looked to defend for a full stretch of the game. And I think that ultimately is what Jamaica is right now. They have some individual talent that does stand out, but throughout a full 90 minutes, they cannot maintain any sort of dangerous offensive pressure against the top teams. And ultimately, if you're going to sit back, man, you're destined to concede, especially against the U.S. side who's getting very desperate in those last 15 minutes.
Yeah, Jamaica's feature is their work rate, and my goodness, do they work. For 90 minutes, they gave everything that they had, blood, sweat, and tears, and it nearly worked. And it's not even indiscipline. It's just pure bad luck when they conceded that own goal from the corner kick and literally the last second of the game. It's just such bad luck. But you're right. If your tactic is to sit back, you're always going to be prone to a set piece or some sort of breakthrough if you're just going to be onslaughted for, basically 90 minutes. But I mean, just overall, man, I'm not happy. I'm confused. This is just really bad. Clint Dempsey actually said something during the halftime show. He was saying that he really hasn't seen the USA play with a verve or an excitement since the last late Nations League final. And that was I guess, a year ago. Yeah. So I kind of agree. We've been just complacent. That's the word I'm going to use here. We just almost look cocky out of it. And honestly, I just don't know what it is. We're in the final. Yeah. I'm going to wait to bash the USA team.
For sure.
Based off of the finals performance, because that's ultimately what actually matters since we are now there. We have a really interesting matchup against the second best side in CONCACAF, Mexico. But yeah, I mean, I'm honestly just lost of words, because how do you even really analyze this game? USA played so poorly. Somehow we're through, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with the whole wait and see perspective. I actually agree with that. I just think that going into the final match, USA and Mexico, I think this is the first time in the Nations League where I don't feel that the USA deserves the trophy after the year they've put in. Agreed. Since that last Nations League trophy, whereas we spoke positively about what Mexico's been able to do in the past year, trying to rebuild themselves. It does seem like they're a little bit more motivated to get their first Nations League trophy, because the USA in this match against Trinidad and Tobago and a lot of their friendlies, yes, they've gotten results, but something about Berhalter ball, something about the mentality just hasn't been there in the same way that it was on display during those first two Nation League runs. Yep. And so let's wait and see. But if they end up losing to Mexico, which we'll get into, I'll have a lot to say about Berhalter and his position with the national team.
As will I. But that's why I want to wait. Yeah. Because I still think there's 90 minutes left to be played against our biggest rivals. If the players don't show up then that's going to be, I'll have a lot to say. Yeah. But yeah, again, it's all still to be left to be played on the pitch.
Folks, let me know what you thought about this game specifically. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Those USA fans, are you passionately against Berhalter now? Are you going to also have that wait and see perspective? I'm interested to know. But moving on to the next game, are we good to go?
Yeah, let's go.
Moving on to the second match of the day, which was between Panama and my beloved Mexico, a national team that has just put me through so much these past few years, and that's well documented on this podcast, the highs and lows that this team has put me through. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, this is probably the most positive I've felt about Mexico in a long time, because, man, sometimes this Mexican team feels like that troubled son I have that is always getting kicked out of school and shit. But today, it finally feels like he came home with an A on his report card, man. And I just feel proud, feel happy. Like something, maybe he's turning the corner, man. Maybe. And I just feel this excitement for the first time in a long time after seeing Mexico ultimately dominate this Panamanian side and showcase their individual talent here on the semifinal Nations League stage, propelling them to potentially lifting the trophy for the first time in the final. This is the best I felt about the national team in a long time, and most certainly the best I felt about Mexico going into a USA versus Mexico final.
Yeah, ultimately the difference in this game for me was just the sheer quality that each side possesses, man. And that was the ultimate question that I had going into this match. How high can Panama punch above their weight? And I think it's completely dependent on the talent that they have in their starting 11. Everybody has to be playing at their absolute best for them to compete against Mexico and the USA. And a night like tonight, they were, average or a little bit above average, but what that gets you, it gets you a 3-0 loss, man. Yeah. And Mexico were fantastic. And in every regard that they were, Panama were just decent, nothing more. Because, I mean, when you look at Panama's performance, honestly, it was very brave. They went at Mexico every opportunity that they had. The work rate of Fajardo, Villas, and Puma Rodriguez, I thought was great. I mean, they had several shots on target throughout the entire match. They just don't have the finishing qualities of Quiñones, Martin, Antuna, right? They just don't really have that. Edson Alvarez. And so you give them 5 chances, you might be lucky if they finish one of them, bro. So I think that's what I got answered tonight. Panama are a fantastic group of players, but their quality just isn't enough to be ruthless against Mexico, against the United States. Even Carrasquilla and Godoy, I thought were good in the midfield. Where they really got let down, though, that back line, man. Mexico stretched them every single time that Mexico had a ball over the top or a through ball in between the sides on the wing back and center back. And it worked almost every time because Panama's defense, they overcommitted a lot. And when they did that, Mexico had the quality to get past that initial bite. And then it was just Panamanians tracking back frantically. It never worked. So Mexico get 3 goals. Could have been more. Chucky could have gotten on the board, man. Yep. Had a really bad stinker of a one-on-one finish. So yeah, Mexico could have ended 4-5-0, honestly. I'm not really disappointed with Panama because honestly, I think they played what they could have. I don't think they could have played any worse or necessarily better. It's just that, yeah, everything's dependent on just the sheer quality of their players. And we knew this going into the game. Mexico had better players. Yeah. And I think this was the difference tonight. Mexico played a fantastic game.
But I guess I'm just happy because Mexico actually lived up to that expectation. Whereas in the past, we would have the better players, we had the better quality, but then we played down to the opposing team's level. Yes. And this time, I felt like one of the first times where we're just very clearly head and shoulders above them in terms of talent, and we showcased that, man. We tapped into it in the first time in a very long time, in my opinion. So that feels really good. I do think there's a little bit of slight concerns with how many times Panama was on the counter and did find themselves in open spaces. And thankfully, because of the Panamanian quality up front, we didn't concede. But against the USA or against any other top-level talent in the Copa America, they're going to punish us for that. That's something I'd like to, shore up a little bit more heading into the Copa America. But offensively, I mean, I was really surprised. Quiñones getting the start over Chucky. I actually really liked that move from Lozano. Obviously, I'd hoped that Santi Jimenez would get the start alongside Quiñones, but that didn't happen. Martin got the start instead. But I think finally benching Chucky is actually a smart move, man. Chucky has been living off of the Germany propaganda for damn near a decade now, man. The moment he had in 2018 scoring a beautiful goal against Germany to give us a 1-0 victory was monumental, but honestly, since then, he's lacked a lot in that final third in terms of finishing and providing us with special moments wearing the Mexican national team jersey. And it showed, man, because once he came on in this match, he once again found himself in really promising positions, but then lacked the quality to finish those chances off and ultimately didn't score a goal. Whereas Quiñones, all he needed was one opportunity, man, and with that calmness, that confidence, and the accuracy and placement he had to put the ball into the bottom left corner of the net, man, I thought was masterful, man. That was class right there. It was really, really positive. And ultimately, I got to give Jimmy Lozano credit for, doing something as bold as benching such a big name like Chucky in a match like this.
Yeah, it's funny because all last year, I was so disappointed with Mexico's midfield play. It just wasn't creative. There wasn't enough combination. But today, between Sanchez, Chavez, and Alvarez, it was the most that I've seen them in sync, man. And I think it really showed. They would get the ball when they would retrieve it from Panama. They'd knock it between themselves, and there'd be a release, either to Quiñones or to Antuna, and it caught Panama almost every single time once Mexico started to get that ball moving. And I think if Mexico can tap into that midfield chemistry that they displayed tonight, if they can just keep building that, then I think Mexico is actually going to be a very threatening team, even against a team like the USA. And that's why I'm really excited for the final on Sunday, because we'll get to see, was the Panamanian midfield not strong enough for the Mexican midfield? Or is Mexico's midfield actually building on something? Because the way they played tonight, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's something really interesting happening with this midfield. We live or die by it, this Mexican team.
Yeah.
But I will say this is probably the best form that we've seen the Mexican midfield be in like the past 2 or 3 years. If you think about it, Edson is killing it at West Ham right now and really finding his role there in the toughest league in the world. And then you have El Chiquito Sanchez, who's playing the best football of his career right now, and arguably the best midfielder in Liga MX at the moment. And Luis Chavez, every time he puts on that Mexican jersey, he's like Ochoa. Like, he just plays above his level, and like he plays very consistent, and he's a really reliable player in that midfield. So, you know, in the past, whereas Edson's gone through moments with Ajax, or we haven't really figured out his pairing midfielder, I feel like we're starting to figure that out now with the quality and the play of El Chiquito Sanchez, and then Edson just playing at such a high level now routinely. That's actually starting to pay dividends, at least in this match against Panama. We'll get the real answer against the USA this upcoming weekend, man. So I also have the same perspective as you do with the USA. I want to wait and see, because we were clearly the better team against Panama.
Clearly.
But before I get too excited, let's see how we play against the best team in CONCACAF in the USA.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so hesitant to say anything big after these two matches, because the way Panama played against Mexico was so adventurous and open that I think it helped Mexico for sure. The spaces were definitely there to be exposed, especially with how bad Panama's backline was. Thing is, all credit to Mexico because they exposed the hell out of Panama's defense. When you look at the game that the USA played, I mean, Jamaica did the exact opposite of Panama. It was 2 blocks of 5, and that was pretty much it. Now, I will say the difference is that the USA did not look interested, whereas Mexico looked interested the entire time. So that's definitely the difference that I want to point out. But man, like, come game time Sunday, USA, Mexico, the biggest rivalry in CONCACAF by a long shot. Are we going to see the same performances from the USA, Jamaica, or from Mexico against Panama? I don't think so. I think that's going to be my prediction. That's why I'm not harping too much on the USA and why I'm holding back a little bit on Mexico. But I will give everything I've got after that Sunday matchup, because I think that's truly when the players are going to show up, or they won't.
Or they won't, man. Let's preview and predict this USA-Mexico final at the AT&T Stadium. We will be in attendance, man, and I'm so excited.
Yes,
it's one of the first.
It's gonna be a fun one.
I think I saw a friendly between Mexico and USA when I was like a kid, but this will be like the first serious competitive matchup I've seen of them in person. So I'm actually very personally excited for this. You guys will find me there wearing this beautiful jersey and just losing my fucking mind. But I think the game itself is set up to be a really good one, with Mexico playing their best football, I think, in a long time, and the USA playing their lowest level of football in a long time, making this very even. So to just start off, let's clarify then, because you've been kind of hinting at it throughout this analysis already. Who's winning that matchup, man? Who do you have winning it, USA or Mexico, in this third bout in the Nations League final?
Kings of CONCACAF, baby.
Mexico?
United States of America. Yeah, I still have the USA winning. It's why I want to hold off on all my USA analysis that I have to give. I still think they're the best team in CONCACAF. I still think we have the best squad on paper. And I think once we get going, we also play the better football. There was very few moments against Jamaica, but in those very few moments, there was really good midfield combination play and very skilled, cheeky football, specifically from Gio Reyna once he came on.
Great.
We had 2 beautiful assists. You do that against any defense, and they're going to struggle to cover it. That's why I don't think you can even count out the USA in any CONCACAF match, because if you just get 1 or 2 players to show up offensively, they're damn near impossible to stop. So if you're Mexico, you can't become complacent yourselves looking at this USA performance, even though it was so bad. If any of the USA players show up offensively, Pulisic, even Brendan Aronson off the bench, Haji Wright, Balogun maybe off the bench, something's going to pop off. Something's going to work for the USA. Now, obviously for Mexico, though, I mean, they played a really good match. They had some really good moments last year. If they can just build on that midfield chemistry we just highlighted, Quiñones getting more integrated into the team, Mexico is going to make this match very even. And honestly, when you look at the last couple of USA-Mexico Clásicos, it's been all USA. This will definitely be the tightest one, I think.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I just think that when it comes to kings being overthrown, you know, a lot of y'all watch Dune too, I'm sure. There's always a uprising that's happening. There's something that's building in the background that then comes to threaten you. And I think that when kings are overthrown, it happens when they when they're most likely to get caught off guard, when they're playing at their lowest. And I think the USA this year and this whole past year that we've seen building up to the Nations League final has kind of been just kind of confusing to me, man. Not fully convincing, whereas Mexico has done, within their own context, a lot to prove to me that they are at the very least deserving of the Nations League final this time around. Whereas in the past 2 years, the USA has just been so clearly deserving of the Nations League title and so clearly the best team in CONCACAF. Yeah. This is the first year where I feel like there's a sort of shift happening. And I just think that Mexico is going to end up lifting the trophy here, having won the Copa America and not having a chance to prove to themselves that, hey, we get to go up against the USA, no more excuses, not playing a B team. This is the A team of the USA. There's our chance to make a statement going into the 2024 Copa America. I think there's a lot to win here if you're a Mexican fan and a Mexican player, so I see them playing up to that level, whereas the USA, just based off the attitude I saw today, the inability to fully take the match serious until the last 10 minutes, I think it's a little insulting to the trophy, man. I think it is. And I think that's where a team jumps in and tries to expose that. The thing is, if the USA wins, given this entire year in this context and Berhalter and the way they play against Jamaica, I think it's going to be an even bigger statement than what's happened in the past 2 years. The USA wins with Mexico playing this level of football. It'll say a lot about where the USA is in CONCACAF. And if anything, it'll just speak more to they need to buckle down, take shit serious, because what they're capable of is really, really good. I'm going Mexico, but if the USA wins it, man, and this one's really going to hurt me.
and that's the reason why I'm nervous. There's a lot at stake here for the USA, because if we do win, it possibly might be an even bigger statement than the two previous wins.
So?
And that's why I'm nervous, because obviously the talent is there. But I need to see the USA with some character, man.
Yeah,
I need to see them
man.
with a lot of aggression. I need to see them press the situation from the moment the whistle's blown against this Mexico side. And I just need to see them play top football. The talent is there. Not even just the squad together, but at club level, everyone's playing their best football that they possibly could be in Europe. So we have to band together and prove to our rivals that we are still better than them. But my goodness, man, I think it's going to be tough because Mexico has the character right now. Yeah. It's what you're talking about, this little uprise.
We have the Lisa Nagaib, man. That's exactly what we have.
You got that energy for
the energy.
Sure,
yeah, I don't know if we have.
And that's why we need to, like any rebellion, put it out. We need to put it out before it really starts blazing, man. And so that's why I'm nervous, but I do think the USA can pull this off, even with a string of really weird performances, man. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if they don't show up, I will have a lot to say. Yeah. But again, there's still so much football left to be played on Sunday, man.
It's gonna be a good game.
I'm really excited.
It's gonna be a good game. What jersey are you wearing?
I'm USA, baby.
All right, man. All right, man.
Wearing that red, white, and blue.
All right, bet, bro. I'll be there with my Mexican jersey. And if you guys see us, please let us know. Let's take a photo. Let's chat it up. And beyond anything, I want to know, what do you guys think about this incredible USA-Mexico final that we have set in the Nations League? Guys, give me your predictions right now. What's going to happen and who are you rooting for? I'll see you guys Sunday at 6:30 Central Time, Texas, for an incredible Nations League final. Until next time, guys. Peace.